There's a quiet shift in love that people rarely talk about. You didn't walk away to punish her or get a reaction. You let go because something within said enough, enough trying to prove your worth. Enough chasing it was time to protect your peace and return to yourself. And that's when it started to shift. Not instantly, but steadily. She felt the difference not because you vanished, but because you realigned you weren't running. You were choosing clarity, and that choice, it carried a strength she didn't expect. She didn't feel it when you were always there. She felt it when you let go with calm conviction, when you stopped needing her to define your value. That's when she saw you, clearly. The man beneath the effort, steady and whole. This video is for the man who didn't stop caring. He just started caring about himself a little more. A man who, like the Stoics, knows that what's real doesn't need to be forced. Let's talk about why she finally saw your worth only after you stopped trying to prove it. Number one, when you stopped reaching. She started remembering there was a moment, maybe subtle, when you stopped reaching out. No more long messages. No more checking in first. And it was in that silence that something unexpected happened. She started remembering not just the good moments, but the man behind them, the one who used to be there, but wasn't anymore. That contrast, it cut through her routine louder than words ever could. Like Stoicism teaches, when you stop reacting, you start revealing. See, she never expected you to let go. She thought you'd always be there, always trying. But when you didn't chase, when you didn't beg for her time or her clarity, she was left with something far more powerful than your presence, your absence. That's when the memories hit harder. Not the drama, not the ending, but your calm. The way you laughed with her, the way you made her feel, seeing the quiet strength in how you carried yourself, even when things weren't perfect. That's what began to echo in her mind when you weren't around to remind her. And that's the twist, isn't it? Most people think letting go means erasing someone, but in reality it's your decision to not hold on that makes them finally see what they took for granted. It's not the message you never sent, it's the fact that you didn't need to send it. That's Stoic strength, not needing to be loud to be heard. Imagine her scrolling through old photos, late at night. She sees your smile, and it doesn't feel like nostalgia. It feels like a realization, because now she's not comparing you to someone else. She's comparing them to you, and they fall short, because you were real, grounded, patient but not weak, present but not dependent. And now she's the one wondering if she misread the moment, if your silence was distance or discipline, if you still care, or if she waited too long to figure out what she had. That's what happens when a man stops reaching. Not because he's bitter, but because he's better. And when you become better, not to win her back, but to win yourself back, that's when she starts to feel what she never expected. The weight of your absence and the love she only truly recognized once you let go. Let that sink in and ask yourself, have you been trying to hold on, or are you ready to let her remember you in peace? Leave a comment and let me know what part of this hits home for you, or just type, I've let go to grow. Let's talk about it. Number 2, your calm became louder than her doubts. She might have expected anger, sadness, maybe one last plea, but what she got was calm, grounded, silent composure, and that calmness. It challenged her doubts. Why didn't you fight for her? Why weren't you unraveling like she imagined? Because you were centered. You had learned to master your response, not just for her, but for yourself. You didn't chase, you didn't argue, you didn't try to convince her of your worth. And in that unfamiliar silence, she felt something stir, something deeper than guilt. It was uncertainty, the kind that creeps in when a woman realizes the emotional grip she thought she had on you is gone. When you step back with grace instead of chaos, you stop being predictable, and that's where the shift begins. It wasn't that you stopped caring overnight, but you stopped showing it in ways that cost you your dignity. You stopped measuring your value through her affection. You started choosing yourself, that kind of detachment, the kind rooted in calm. Not resentment is what Stoicism is all about. Not pretending you don't feel, but having the courage to feel, without being enslaved by emotion. She didn't expect that. She expected the man who once stayed up worrying the man who over-explained the one who would have sent one last message just to make peace. But now that man was gone, not bitter, just wiser. You weren't running away, you were standing still, and ironically that stillness made her want to come closer again. I've seen it happen time and time again. A woman walks away thinking she has the upper hand until the man she left behind stops reaching. And that moment, that quiet moment when you no longer orbit her mood, that's when her emotions begin to shift. Not out of guilt, but because your strength quietly exposed her uncertainty. So remember this: you don't have to raise your voice to be heard when you remain composed, when your energy speaks of self-respect. You say more than any plea ever could, because when your calm becomes louder than her doubts, she doesn't just remember you, she starts to fall for you all over again. Number 3. You let go, but kept your standards. Letting go didn't mean settling. You didn't twist your values to keep her around. You didn't compromise your self-respect just to hold on to someone emotionally uncertain. No, what you did was rare. You walked away with grace, not out of bitterness, but out of principle. You stopped choosing chaos, and that became unforgettable. See, most people assume that walking away means anger, resentment, or defeat. But yours was different. Yours came from alignment. You weren't interested in convincing someone of your worth. You were interested in protecting the peace you had built within. And even if she didn't say it, that decision hit her, because the man who walks away with his standards intact leaves a different kind of silence behind, one that speaks louder than any apology or final word. She noticed it in small ways: the way you didn't reach out after things ended, the way you didn't watch her stories or linger in her digital orbit. You didn't unfollow in a dramatic gesture. You just stopped feeding energy into a space where you no longer felt seen. And instead of falling apart, you built quietly. You poured into your habits, your body, your craft, your peace. That shift, it wasn't a performance, it was a return to form. And that's what Stoicism teaches: that your energy is yours. To protect that true strength lies not in reacting, but in choosing your response with intention. You didn't walk away because you stopped feeling. You walked away because you started honoring what you feel, and in doing so, you showed her something different, something she might have never experienced before. A man who can love deeply but refuses to lose himself in the process. That contrast, it lingers, because while she might have expected drama or desperation, what she got instead was stillness. Not the kind that hides pain, but the kind that reflects wisdom, the kind that says, "I loved you, but not more than I respect myself." And somewhere along the way, that memory began to rewrite itself in her mind. She stopped thinking about how things ended and started remembering who you were. When they did, calm, clear, unshaken, that's when it starts to sink in that the man she left didn't collapse. He rose quietly, and the more she sits with that, the more she starts to feel what she never expected to regret. Wrapped in admiration, she fell in love not just with the man you were when you held her close, but with the one you became when you let her go. Number 4, time didn't fade you. It defined you. Some people expect time to erase you, but for her it had the opposite effect. As the days passed, your absence carved a shape she couldn't fill. You weren't texting. You weren't watching her stories. You weren't trying to be seen. And in that quiet evolution, you became something else, defined, not forgotten. You see, when a man detaches not out of anger, but out of self-respect, It shifts something. At first, she might have thought you'd circle back like before, that maybe after a few days or weeks, she'd see your name light up her screen. But this time was different. You didn't disappear in a storm. You left like still water pulling back from the shore. No begging, no closure speech, just a calm withdrawal that spoke louder than any goodbye ever could as the weeks passed. The silence didn't feel like peace to her. It became weight, because while she continued with her life, something subtle kept echoing. Your lack of presence didn't feel like distance. It felt like strength. She realized you weren't trying to provoke a reaction or play a game. You were genuinely done seeking, and that clarity, that grounded restraint, that's what left a mark. Stoicism teaches us to let go of what we cannot control and to return to the self. And that's exactly what you did. You stopped checking your phone for a reply. You stopped wondering how she felt. You returned your focus inward to your own rhythm, your own purpose, while she was still caught up in impressions and reactions. You were becoming someone harder to replace. And here's the truth. Most people don't expect when you stop chasing someone who was unsure about you. Time doesn't make you disappear. It gives your absence room to speak. It allows your silence to echo every day. She didn't hear from you. The image of you grew clearer, not fuzzier. It's not because you were trying to be unforgettable. It's because you finally let your peace speak louder than your need to be understood. Now, when she thinks of you, she doesn't just remember what you said. She remembers how you made her feel safe, grounded, present, and that feeling isn't easy.